Parasha Yitro. We're a little bit behind, but this is a very important parasha. In the beginning, the Torah tells us that there was an individual by the name of Yitro. Vayishma Yitro, Kohen Midian, Choten Moshe, et kol asher asa Elohim leMoshe u'Yisrael amo ki yosi Hashem et Yisrael miMitzrayim. Yitro had heard about this whole very fascinating episode that the Jewish people experienced when they left Egypt. Hashem removed them from the galut, from the bondage. He made the many miracles that he did, the plagues, and he finally took them out. Yitro was aware of how difficult it is to leave Egypt. Many people tried and it was not possible. So Yitro was aware of what happened. He becomes all excited. The Torah goes on to explain that he comes to meet up with his son-in-law Moshe, and he converts. The way we know that he converts, it says Vayichad, Yitro, that he was overjoyed. The word Vayichad is to be overjoyed, but it also has or contains the root Had, sharp. In other words, he circumcised himself. No, at that time, no. Anyway, so this individual comes, and even though he was the father-in-law of Moshe, he didn't think about converting before. He decides to join the Jewish nation at this time. The biggest question, the most incredible question that should come to mind is, why only him? We are told by the rabbis, it's mentioned in the Midrash, remember, Kriyat Yam Suf was not just in the Red Sea, the splitting of the Red Sea. All over the world, if you were drinking a cup of Coke, they didn't have Coke then, but if you were drinking water, it would split in the cup. There was a split of the waters all over the world. There was a temporary split. The world was aware that there was Matan Torah, there was Kriyat Yam Suf. The world was aware, became aware of the great miracles that happened in Egypt. Vayishma Yitro, Yitro was one of them. He heard, he wasn't there. So why only him? Why only did he come and convert? Right? Because it says right away, after he hears, he brings the wife, the children, and he comes to join Moshe. So what's going on? This man was not an ordinary man, obviously. He was a priest beforehand. Kohen Midian, exactly. And what kind of a priest was he? Many, many idols that they worshipped. Back then it wasn't one, it was many. He was an honest man. He had honesty, he was truthful, integrity. And just to give you a quick example of his fine character, you may have heard of the Midrash that says that there were three individuals who were advisors to Paro. Paro asked, what do we do about this Jewish problem? Right? Sounds familiar? The Goyim talk this way? You know?
They still do.
They still do. So the Midrash says, Bil'am, of course, was the worst, the wicked. His advice was, kill them, eliminate them, concentration camps, etc. Right? Yov kept quiet. Yov, or in English, Job. Is that how it's pronounced, or is it Job? Yeah. He kept quiet. Yitro ran away. He didn't want to give any advice. He didn't want to have any involvement in this. He didn't want to be a part of this. He ran away. Yitro zacha. This man merited to be the father of Moshe Rabbeinu, of our people. Yov had many days of pain and suffering. And in the end, of course, Bil'am was killed. There are various points in that Midrash, very important points. We're not going to be discussing that, but since I already mentioned it, might as well say that keeping quiet is not a good thing either, because when a person is silent, it's like he admits acceptance. Therefore, that keeping silent is definitely not a good idea. But Yitro definitely did the best. He went away. Why did he go away? Because he knew that he could not change the situation. If there's any possibility that you can change the situation, you need to change the situation. You know where this is very relevant? When you have a relative or a good friend, neighbor, business partner, who's not religious, he doesn't observe the mitzvot. The question is, how much should you tell him? What should you tell him? What you're doing is wrong, it's against the Torah. Or should you keep quiet? Why should you keep quiet? Because there are certain times, only certain times, when we say, Mutam shiyu shogegim velo yu mezugim. There are certain times that we say it's better, let them be shogegim. In other words, let them do what they're doing unintentionally. Because if you tell them, and now they know that it's wrong, they will become mezidim. In other words, they will continue to rebel, break the law, and now they're doing it intentionally or knowingly. But this only applies to a mitzvah which is not very clear. If it's a clear-cut mitzvah, it says in the Torah, don't eat chazir, then you have to tell him. It's a sur. It says so because it's clear in the Torah. If he wanted to, he could pick up the Chumash, he could read it himself. That one needs to tell everybody. If it's clear. However, there are times when it's an obligation, when it's your duty, and there are other times when it's more optional. Why? Because sometimes the people will ridicule your words. And there's a cloud, there's a rule, Keshem shem mitzvah, lomar davar hamishma. Just like it's a mitzvah, it's a good thing to say, something which will be heard and heeded. It's also a mitzvah not to say something which will go unheeded. They will laugh at you, they will mock you. Who needs it? So there are various conditions in the halakha. If this is an individual, if this is a group, if you have influence over them, to determine if it's your duty or an obligation to say something. The bottom line is that if something min Torah, not min Rabbanan, but something which is min Torah, something very serious, and you have some influence over these people, you have to at least try once. If you have a tremendous amount of influence, and you know that there's a good chance that your words may make a difference, because what I just spoke about is you don't know if your words will make a difference. So you try. But when you know that your words may definitely make a difference, then you have to even go 100 times. Until when? Until he hits you. Stop telling me. That's the limit of that case. If somebody has some degree of influence, he has to at least try once. Try in a nice way, of course. Tell him this is a serious matter. You have a beautiful neshama. You know who your parents or grandparents were. Sfaradim don't have this problem as much because they can relate to that. If they're not observant, their parents or grandparents were. Whereas with Ashkenazim, the nituk, the distance between observance and non-observance can be 3-4 generations sometimes because of communism and other factors that distance Jews from their Judaism. So it's harder for them to come back. They didn't see anything in their father or grandfather's home they can relate to. So they have to use logic and reasoning to figure this out. Does the Torah make sense? Was it really given in Sinai? They have to figure this out. Sephardi Jews, Middle Eastern Jews, Temanim for sure, they saw this. They're aware of it. Their tradition is much closer to their heart. They have an easier time coming home. Therefore, one has to do his best to clarify to these people that this is serious business. This is something that was observed for many, many generations, your own father, your own grandfather, and hopefully try to convince them. So anyway, Yitro is convinced. And he is a very special individual because he's not even Jewish. He doesn't belong to the Jewish nation, and he's still convinced. He didn't sit in his father's home. Why was he convinced? Because we started off saying that he was a man of integrity. He was an honest, truthful man. And that is a very, very important and beautiful characteristic to have in your nature. One who's truthful, never lies or cheats. If he sees the truth, he'll go after it. He has no choice. He's honest. Can he lie to himself? No. The reason why many people who know the truth, still do averot, is because of what one of the rabbis said. Because truth is very heavy. And that is why there are very few people who are willing to carry it. Truth is heavy. It requires commitment to observe the Torah mitzvot. But these are the people who are honest, who are truthful, and still sometimes they still do averot because they have a hard time with it. But they're not going to deny it. They have a conflict of ta'avot, desires, which comes from the body, from the heart, from what the mind says. The mind says one thing, the heart says something, I want this. But it's asur. Yeah, but I want it anyway. Somebody insults you. Asur to get angry to hit him back. But at that moment you're not thinking about if it's asur or mutar. You want to get back to him. See, there's a conflict. People have conflicts between ta'avot, their desires, and between what they know in their mind is the truth. So up until now, I just mentioned those who know the truth. Obviously, if somebody does not know the truth, what should he do? The bare minimum is find out, just like Abraham Avinu. Abraham Avinu is representative of what every individual in the world should do, not just the Jewish people. Remember, he wasn't Jewish in a sense, even though he's a forefather. He discovered monotheism, that there's one God in the world after many, many generations where the world was confused. Yitro was Oved Elilim, not one Elil, many Elilim, many idols. He tried them out. He was a priest. He was a knowledgeable person. He was truthful, sincere. But he tries out. But they don't do anything. A bunch of garbage. As soon as he saw this, he embraced it right away. He realized that this is for real. This is serious. So this was a man who investigated. The rest of the Goyim did not investigate. And that is why they did not come and did not join like he did. Erev Rav, the multitudes left Egypt with the Jewish people. They joined the bandwagon because, let's go, we're leaving Egypt. We want to get out of this bondage. Not for real reasons. That is why when a woman or a man wants to convert for the wrong reasons, because he wants to marry a Jewish girl or she wants to marry a Jewish boy, this is the wrong reasons. That gerut will not be a true gerut. Unless, b'di avad, she marries him for the wrong reason, she converts for the wrong reason, but she keeps all the mitzvot perfectly right. Okay, then we accept it. That's not the real reason to convert, because she loves this man or he loves this woman. He wants to marry them, right? Not the real reason, but at least they are accepting upon themselves all malchut shamayim, all Torah mitzvot, yoke of mitzvot, fine. Then they can become Jewish. Circumcision, if he's a man, they be lying in the mikveh, and all malchut shamayim. A woman, all malchut shamayim and mikveh, fine. But if from the beginning, from the very start, their intention was not to do so, even if an Orthodox rabbi were to do the conversion, it's not good. because there's no on Malchut Shamayim. It's not, in her heart, she never intends to keep it. But we need to, of course, try to figure out the intentions of the individual, but sometimes they lie. And the problem is, once they become true converts, and then they let go, they're punished because they're really Jewish. And that causes problems. The Erev Rav was an example of converts who were not converting for the real reasons. Makes no difference. Makes no difference. They were the biggest troublemakers. They caused us the problems in the desert with the golden calf and so forth. So there are not that many Gerim who are called Ger Tzedek, true converts for the real reasons. And Judaism does not look out for them, does not want people to convert. They don't, because they don't need to. Obviously, once an individual converts and joins the Jewish people, he's just like anybody else. He's treated in the same way. And he's zochen, he merits all the reward that all the Jewish people will have. So of course, once he has attained that level on his own, he's given what the Zohar says, a nefesh ager, a special neshama, which by having this neshama, he's able to become basically just like anybody else. He's able to relate to the Torah, he's able to learn the Torah and understand it. He has received a certain sanctity, a certain kedusha, which puts him on the same level as the rest of the Jewish people. So Yitro is an individual who, of course, converts because he investigated, compared, comes to a conclusion that this is the truth. Most people in the world do not do what he did, and that is why nobody else volunteered and came forward, even after they heard him some miracles. Next point. Parasha Yitro, as you know, is the parasha of Matan Torah in Har Sinai. The Midrash says that Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Almighty, went to every nation and offered them the Torah before he gave it to the Jewish people. Now, it doesn't really mean that he actually went and knocked on the door, Ishmael, do you want it? That's not what it means. The Midrash goes on to explain that every nation was given an opportunity to accept the Torah mitzvot, and they did not. Ishmael said, what does it say in the Torah? It said, Lo tignov, as an example. Ishmael says, I can't live without it. Or maybe it says by Ishmael, Lo tinaf. Hashem chose, when they asked him what does it say, he chose the commandment that's the most difficult. For Ishmael, the most difficult is maybe ni'uf, znut, prostitution. Hashem says, you know what, in our Torah, it says, Lo tinaf. You can't do what you want. Oh, that's not for me. He went to Edom, it says, Lo tirtzah. He went to Canaan, it says, Lo tignov. To each nation, he pointed out that commandment which would be difficult for them to fulfill. So what did I just say? He didn't actually go to them. What the Midrash is trying to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew that these nations have so much evil in them. Their character is so corrupt and so bad, they will never be able to keep the mitzvot properly. It won't last for half a generation. They will be transgressing everything. We need a very special group of people that they can do it. Now let me ask you a question. The Jewish people, they have a terrible characteristic. It's called the ksher oref. They're stubborn. Oh, but stubbornness can be good. Stubbornness can be good. Because of our stubbornness, we didn't give in. Insane. We were willing to die, even if they were threatening to throw us in the flames. Stubbornness can be good, depends how you use it. Hashem wasn't worried about stubbornness. On the contrary, he felt that the stubbornness would help him. It's a long story of how the Jewish nation is formed. In other words, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings it about. It's a filtering system, a filtering neshamot. Putting a group of neshamot together that Hashem knew this is where the highest concentration of kedusha is, and the chances are better that they will be able to observe the Torah mitzvot. No guarantee, because we all have free will. We're all flesh and blood, human beings. We have Yetzer Hara just like any goy. The biggest tzaddik with the longest beard can do averot. There's no guarantee that he will not. And as I've always said, Israelis ask me, how could it be that this big rabbi made a sin? He was caught red-handed, regardless of the sin. Rabbi, how do you explain something like that? I tell him, Yehudi, Yakar, my dear brother, I tell him, you think that rabbi doesn't have a Yetzer Hara like you and me? What happened to you? What, that's it? No more Yetzer Hara just because he grew a long beard and he studied a lot of Torah? On the contrary, the greater the man is, the greater his Yetzer is. Why? Because the Yetzer doesn't want to go after the small little guys, he wants to go after the big fish. Why? Because if he brings him down, if he brings this big rabbi down, this causes a tremendous uproar in the Shamayim. And you know what a Chilul Hashem that is? The inspiration of God's name that people see and hear about it? Just look at what goes on in the newspaper. Every day almost in the newspaper, you catch another guy doing sexual abuse for this. Priests, people doing all sorts of things with children. Anything you can think of, all the averot in the Torah, you see in the newspaper every single day. Every single day. What's this? Because they have no Torah to anchor them, to hold them back. I'm not surprised. This is a free country. You do whatever you want, right? As long as you don't kill or steal or whatever, right? Do what? Yeah. We have something to hold us back. Hashem told us this is not good for you. This is not good for your neshama. You're going against my will and my instruction. Don't do that. It's going to affect your life in Olam Hazeh and your Sachar in Olam Haba. But we are trained. This doesn't guarantee, but at least it's a reminder. It helps us, in guiding our lives in a healthy way, not in a sick way, like a lot of these people are living their lives. So when Hashem goes to every nation, what the Midrash really meant is that He did not really introduce Himself to everyone, but Hashem knew. He created the world. Not all the nations will be capable of observing the Torah mitzvot, and that is why He gave it to Am Yisrael. He felt Am Yisrael has the best chance. And even Am Yisrael, unfortunately, many times throughout history, has failed. That is why they've been thrown out of Eretz Israel several times. That is why the Goyim are persecuting us. The Pasuk says, if Hashem would approve of a man's deeds, even his enemies would make peace with him. Our enemies would have no trouble with us if we conducted ourselves according to the Torah. You want to hear something? There's a rabbi here visiting. I think it was him. Now in Los Angeles, he told me that he sat down once to speak to an Arab, an intellectual Arab. I think this happened at a lecture that he gave, actually. It was a lecture to Jews, but there was one Arab in there. At the end of his lecture, which had to do with the Jews' right to Eretz Israel, the Arab gets up and he says, I've never heard such a good lecture about the rights of the Jews to Eretz Israel. You made a little bit more sense to me. However, he starts complaining that the Arabs have rights too, and that this is our land, etc. They get into a whole discussion. The rabbi asks him, tell me, aren't you Arab afraid of us? After all, look at what the Quran says about the Jewish people. There's some good things written in the Quran. Look at what the Bible says. You accept our Bible too, don't you? Aren't you afraid? I mean, after all, the land is ours, the land was given to us. Aren't you afraid of going against us and fighting us? Do you know what the Arab tells him? No, we're not. Because your Bible says that if you do not follow the Torah mitzvot, we shouldn't be afraid of you. The Arab's telling this to the Jew, to the rabbi. That is why we're not afraid of you. Because the Jewish state is not following the Torah mitzvot. We have no reason to be afraid of you. We're going to try our hardest to go after you and to bomb you and to shoot you. So there's no reason for us to be afraid. Your own Torah says that the enemy will be on top of you. The enemy will succeed and you will fail. Of course. You see? Yeah. So anyway, so the Jewish people, if they would keep the Torah mitzvot, they wouldn't have any problem with their enemies. They wouldn't have any problem with the lack of rain. So unfortunately, throughout history, the Jewish nation has also had difficult times. But that is in some ways expected because we have free will, we're human beings. But the idea is, if you make a mistake, correct it. It doesn't mean, the Torah doesn't mean to say, I don't expect you to make mistakes and to fall and to be weak. Yeah, but I gave you Yitro Hara. You will fall, get up, fix your mistakes. Fix it. That is called teshuvah. Teshuvah means to return, come back, admit you were wrong. You know, one of the biggest problems between husband and wife, shalom bayit problems, men and women are different. That's a fact. The natures are different. Well, even if there's chemistry and good chemistry between them, the fact that there's two very different types of creations, creatures, makes them worlds apart. And there are disagreements, misunderstandings, and sometimes even fights. Oh, it could happen. But you know what? Make up. Make up. No, forget about giving in. Make up. Make up. Make up. What's the first step for making up? Sorry, I was wrong. The problem is each one wants the other one to say it.
Yeah, each one will just say it.
Exactly. Even if you were right, still say it. Exactly. So, for the mistake of some bite. Shem, I was wrong, I'm sorry. Still accept it. But that apparently is not so easy either, because the Yetzer Hara does not want the person to do teshuvah. So he says, you know what, you did it once, do it again. It's already, no big deal. After all, nothing is happening. You didn't get a stroke once you did it. Torah says, mot yumat, you will die. I see a lot of people doing, they don't get killed. The Yetzer Hara is a very, very, very powerful psychologist, very intelligent angel. He's able to convince a person knowing the weaknesses of that person. Why should you get up this morning? You went to sleep so late last night. You're tired. Like these big companies, they try to sell you 3 nights at a hotel at a resort. You know what they say? You owe it to yourself. How do you know? They want to sell it to you, so they come up with all these ideas. You owe it to yourself. It's coming to you. You deserve it. Anyway, so the Yetzer Hara works in the same way to convince people. So Am Yisrael is the only one that receives the Torah. Kadosh Baruch Hu knew that Am Yisrael nevertheless has a better chance of fulfilling the commandments. That is where the highest concentration of good and Kedusha is. That is the way where everything came about. They have neshamot that are closer to Kedusha than the rest of the world. That's just a fact. That's the way it is. And therefore Hashem gives them the Torah. What happens as a result of Am Yisrael receiving the Torah? Anybody know? What was the automatic reaction? How did the world deal with that? They didn't want it. The rabbis tell us in the Midrash, Lama Nikra Sinai. Why is the mountain of Sinai called Sinai? Sham Yarda Sin'a La'olam. That is where the hatred came down to. What does that hatred have to do with? Several things. Jealousy is the most minor one, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It's the most minor. Hatred, pure anti-Semitism, is because we're different. We're different. However, if we would follow the Torah mitzvot, they wouldn't hate us. That hatred would be very, very minute. They wouldn't think about it the whole time. But the Jew is not observant, and he stays to himself, and he is rich. You see? Then that gets them very, very angry. It brings everything up. That hatred that came down in Sinai, which did what? It separated us from the whole world. We stand out. We don't marry them. We barely deal with it except when it comes to business. Right? So if we would keep the Torah mitzvot, there would be no harm. They would make peace with us. They would admire and respect us too. That sinah that came down is as a result of us being different. But even if we're different, if we were to keep all the Torah mitzvot, Hashem gave us a beracha that they will not harm you. They will not go after you. There's nothing to worry if we're different. The Torah tells us, Hashem tells us, that by choosing us, He said the following words, V'yitem li segula kol ha'amim, you will be unto me a precious nation. Segula is like a treasure. Mamlechet kohanim, a nation of priests. V'goy kadosh, a holy nation. We have three statements, basically, that Hashem is telling us. As a result of saying the words Na'aseh v'nishma, committing ourselves to keep the Torah mitzvot, Hashem says, we are unique in very important ways. What's the difference between each one of those? The first part being Yitem li segula, Hashem is saying you are special in the relationship that you and I have. What special relationship do we have with Hashem? Called Ashgacha Peratit, divine providence. What does that mean? It means that even though there is something called mazalot, that the whole world is under their influence, their fate and their destiny controlled by the stars, Am Yisrael me'al hamazal, because we have something called Ashgacha Peratit, divine providence. He can switch matters. Somebody had a bad mazal, Hashem can give him a beracha. The wheel turns around. He was not supposed to have children according to his mazal. He can have children. So he gave him a blessing. Hashem agreed. We have Ashgacha Pratit. Yuli Segula. We are the treasure to Hashem. Yet we have a treasure and special relationship with him called Ashgacha Pratit. Mamlechet Kohanim. That statement is a description of the relationship that we have with the nation. Mamlechet Kohanim means nation of priests. We're supposed to be an example for others to follow. People of the book. So it's important that we behave ourselves, that we follow Torah. So not only for our own reward, for our own protection, our own destiny, the tachlit, but also we have a job, a responsibility for the rest of the world too. We need to fix the world. We need to make this place a true Gan Eden. That it could be. Can you imagine what would happen if all the countries in the world got together in a meeting, the United Nations, and instead of criticizing Israel and talking about all the shtuyot in the world, all the nonsense, they would say, you know what? Let's gather all our resources and invest in the poor. There should be no poverty in the world, no starvation. Everybody should have a home. It's possible. Instead of spending all the billions and trillions of dollars in defense and shtuyot, right? The world is not doing anything about it. Here, they send packets of food to Afghanistan. They drop here a few acts of kindness. It's not pure kindness. It's all political interest, not true kindness. The world has tremendous potential to do good, to be a true partner with Hashem. Where should they know this? This is what they need to do from the Jewish people. We need to be their teachers, and we haven't done, unfortunately, a good job. That's Mamlechet Kohanim. We were supposed to be a nation of priests. Goy Kadosh, the statement of Goy Kadosh, what does that have to do with? That has a relationship that we have amongst ourselves. We're a special nation. We're a holy nation, which means that we're different. Our customs are different. Our dress code is different. Our names are different. In other words, amongst ourselves, we as a people are a goy kadosh. Therefore, our ambitions, our aspirations, our priorities in life should be different than the goyim. Look at a newspaper today, or a magazine. What does the average goy aspire? Well, depending on his age. If he's a teenager, he wants to have all this silly driving age, he wants his father to buy him a car, not just any car. He wants the newest car. If he's in his mid-30s or 40s, he wants promotions in his job. He wants to go and wants to make a lot of money. Tons of money. He wants to travel and enjoy life. So that age group, they're looking at things that interest them. Sports, fun, trips, pleasures. Right? How about the higher age group, 55 and 60? You know what they're thinking about? I was at the dentist yesterday, and I saw a special magazine. The favorite spots of retirement in America. Very nice pictures of people playing golf, sitting, having a suntan, whether it's in Arizona or North Carolina. There's a lot of places, nice places. Drinking, killing time. Yeah, killing time. That's all they aspire for. That's all they have. There's nothing else. To do tzedakah, to do chesed, to put on tefillin, to go to Beit HaKnesset, to be with the minyan, right? To keep Shabbat, to have guests over. Completely different life altogether. We are a goy kadosh. Husband cannot be with his wife for 11, 12 days of the month. That reinforces the physical bond between them after 11, 12 days that they couldn't touch each other. It's like a honeymoon. Hashem gave us a honeymoon once a month. Make sure that this couple does not get bored of each other, because statistics show that many, many divorces among the non-Jews is a result because they're bored. You know what happens when one is bored with his partner? He goes and tries other people too. And what happens when he tries others? That's called betrayal. That brings about divorce. I'm tired of this. I want somebody younger. Huh? It's incredible what goes on there. But we are a goy kadosh. We have a different set of standards. Okay, next. In Parashat Yitro, we have the Aseret HaDibrot, we have the Ten Commandments. Hashem tells us at the very beginning of Aseret HaDibrot, Asher Otzeticha, you know who I am? Hashem Elokecha, Asher Otzeticha Meretz Mitzrayim. I'm the one that took you out of Egypt. Why didn't Hashem just make it simple? I'm the one that created the world. Isn't that more important? The problem is, how do we know you created the world? In other words, we weren't there. Hashem is telling us, the reason Hashem is giving us Yitziat Mitzrayim, He's telling us that He took us out of Egypt is for the following reasons. The simple reason is because that is obvious to us. We just witnessed it. We have 600,000 males over the age of 20 who were witnesses. They were witnesses. They didn't hear this from somebody else. They saw themselves. This is true.
They went through it.
They went through it. They saw it. They are witnesses. No other religion began like this, where you had that many people witnessing. All the cults and religions in the world began with one man. Go believe what he says, his story. One man. One man, you have people believing. Could you keep? It's incredible. Why trust him? Torah says you need always two witnesses or something major. At least two. We had 600,000 witnesses. Hashem relates to that. Remember me, I took you out of Egypt. I'm the one, and I'm commanding you the following mitzvot for your benefit.
Why there are more than us?
What?
Why there are more than us?
Why
One Jew, he convinced all these nations, all the benefits.
Oh, yeah, he was Jewish, the one who started Christianity. You mean the one who started? Yeshua. Yeah. Sure. All the good things and the bad things come from Jews. But he didn't do anything, that's true. It was his students. It was 100 years later. Yeah, his people. His students. Yeah. Well, he was just an individual that did some things. Yeah, did some things against the Torah, and as a result of his actions, of course, a new religion was born. But anyway, that's another issue. Communism was also started by Jews. The Jews started everything.
For good or bad.
Right. All right. So Hashem tells us, "I am the one that took you out of Egypt." This is something that you can identify with. But Yitziat Mitzrayim is also very significant for other reasons. The whole idea of that Hashem is liberating us, taking us out of bondage, is not that we should be free men, to do anything we want. Yitziat Mitzrayim is for the purpose of being servants of Hashem, not servants of Pharaoh. When a man works 17 hours a day, he's a slave. He's a slave of his work. Hashem doesn't want that. Even though there's a kelala, there's a curse, we have to work hard for a living. Hashem didn't intend it to be that way. We are servants of Hashem. We have a responsibility. We have a job to fulfill in this world. That is number one. Number two, we have to, of course, survive. We need to eat. We need to have a roof over our heads. So, of course, we need parnasa. Then we have other responsibilities. Take care of our children, of our wives, home, and so forth. Take care of other people. If we have enough money, we should give them tzedakah. Man has various responsibilities, but his number one responsibility, his number one priority is always service, his relationship with the Borei Olam. So Yitziat Mitzrayim, Hashem is revealing to us, you know why you're being commanded these commands? Because I took you out of Egypt for this reason. You are to be a nation. You are being formed as a nation right now. When are you being formed? After Yitziat Mitzrayim, not before. Meaning that Yitziat Mitzrayim, in a sense, was in preparation for Kabbalat Torah. We needed to go through Egypt. We needed to go through this process. That is where we're being formed into a nation. This is the Independence Day. That is where Chodesh Nisan is the first month of the Jewish year. Even though Tishrei is when the years change, Nisan is the first month of the year, because that is the year, that is the month that we left Egypt. It's an important time to remember. And that is why we say the many things we do. Zecher Yitziat Mitzrayim. It's an important event. The many miracles that occurred, the relationship that was formed then with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the many things that we saw that were evident and clear, that Hashem is the one that controls the world. No other koach besides Him. So that is why Yetziat Mitzrayim is mentioned in Aseret HaDibrot. This, by the way, this testimony of Yetziat Mitzrayim, even though it was witnessed by the people who were there, future generations will no longer see Har Sinai, right? Hashem only spoke once. That is the importance of giving over the Masorah, the tradition, to our children. Part of giving over is the mentioning of Yetziat Mitzrayim. That is the Haggadah, that is read on Pesach. We spoke a lot about Yetziat Mitzrayim. Yetziat Mitzrayim is the link that we have with the past, even though it's been many, many years ago. It's an important link. In that link, we are supposed to give over to our children who were not there. So what happens? Father, son, the next son, generation after generation, an unbroken chain. My great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was in Israel. It didn't just start. Somebody made up a story. So that is the importance of talking about Yetziat Mitzrayim the many times during the year that we speak about it. Okay, next point in Aseret HaDibrot is the question of why is the Aseret HaDibrot said in a singular language, not in plural. There were many, many people. Lo tirtzach, right? Lo tin'af, lo tachmod. Right? It doesn't say lo tignovu, lo tignov. Jewish people, Kol Yisrael arevin ze lazeh. It's like we're one body, one group of people. Not only did Hashem speak to every one of us as individuals, that is why He's using the singular language, He's also reminding us that we're like one people. We need each other. We can't live without each other. That is one of the reasons of a minyan. A person can pray by himself, but it's not as effective and as powerful as praying in a minyan. Hashem prefers groups of people. It's a greater Kiddush Hashem. Hashem is reminding us, therefore, that we are one body and we have to be concerned for every Jew. Just like if your finger hurts, the whole body feels it. When one Jew dies anywhere in the world, the whole body, the whole Jewish nation feels it. It should pain us. We need to remember this point, that we are one. We are inseparable. That is one of the ideas conveyed in speaking in a singular language. I told you once the story with the king that was visiting. He was going to visit a city where they make wine, and he wanted to taste the wine. Everybody was told by the mayor of the town to bring from his cellar a little bit of the wine that he made to the community barrel. So when the king comes, he will taste. What happened? The king comes, and has a drink, and it turns out that what's in the barrel is water and not wine. What happened? Everybody said, I'm going to bring a little bit of water. They won't know the difference anyway, there's so much wine. The problem is, everybody thought of the same thing. So everybody thought of the same idea, so that then it turned out to be water. You might think, let him do it. Let him do the mitzvah. Let him take care of this. No, if everybody thinks that, nothing will be done. We all have to feel as though it's our responsibility. Hashem is speaking to us. He expects us to do it. And each one contributes, each one is important. If we wouldn't be important, we wouldn't be here. We have no reason to be here. Hashem puts us here, it means that He needs us. We all fill in somewhere. Each one is special and important. People who commit suicide or who are depressed, it's because they think they're not important. There's nothing, what do they have to live for? A Jew needs to remember that Hashem needs him. He wants him here. That's why He put him here. What he can do, nobody else can do. Each one is therefore special, and each one is important. Okay, next point. We have two more points. Mitzvah kibud abahim. Torah says, honor your parents. That's reasonable. It makes some sense. But it's a lot deeper than that. Even though it's a very special mitzvah, even though the goyim understand it, it's a lot deeper than that. But when a person honors his parents, what did Hashem have in mind? What did Hashem have in mind by honoring his parents? When a child sees that his parents take care of him, they clothe him, they feed him, they take care of him, they raise him, and he shows his, and that's why he should show his gratitude. This idea will lead him to the mitzvah of V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, of giving kavod and respect to Hashem, who is like your father, who feeds and takes care of everybody in the world. So mitzvah kibud avahim zukeresh kvitza. It's like a springboard for V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, who you cannot see, but you need to somehow relate to that in your mind. It's obvious that Hashem takes care of the world, right? It's incredible how the world rotates on its axis exactly, never missing. Did the sun ever not come up? On a cloudy day, it comes up too, just you don't see it, but it always comes up on time. Rain, everything works perfect. The universe, everything. Hashem takes care of everybody. How do we get to that madriga, that level of V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, to the mitzvah of kibud avayim? They take care of us. We owe them our gratitude. We should respect them, and through that we will come to honor HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is why it's mentioned in Aseret HaDibrot, because of the direct relationship of the mitzvot that we have for Hashem, and this mitzvah that we have for our parents. Why does it say Leman Yarichun Yamecha Ladamas? In order that your life should be lengthened? Doesn't necessarily mean long years. You're not going to live to 175. Even though there's a segula, it may protect your life too. The point of the man Yitro Mecha is as follows. If a child respects his parents, he will respect his parents' religion. And the tradition will go over to the son, and to the son's son, and to all the generations to come. Spiritual survival means physical survival of the Jewish people. The man Mecha, therefore, is the spiritual and therefore, consequently, also the physical survival of the Jewish nation as a result of that. If the spirit dies, in other words, if the tradition dies, then Hashem will not physically survive. Hashem will not protect them. That is therefore an important mitzvah in protecting the Masorah, the tradition of the Jewish nation. You respect your father? Yes, then respect his faith, his religion. Don't think you're smarter than him, like many people think. It was good enough for him, it should be good enough for you too. Last point is Poked Avon Avod Al Banim Al Shilashim Al Rebeim. Hashem says as follows: Midat Tova Merubah Midat Poranut. If I'm going to reward you, the reward is greater than the punishment. What does that mean? Reward will last for many, many generations. Punishment can last for 3-4 generations only, not more. Children are not punished because of their parents' sin. Children are rewarded because of the deeds of their fathers. Reward can last even to many generations to come. Just because one time this man did something, his children for many generations will be rewarded, not with punishment. Children will not be punished because of the sins of the fathers. With one exception. If they continue to do the exact same thing as their parents did. Why? There was once a wolf who wanted to eat a fox. So you know the fox is a sly animal. So the fox tells the wolf, why do you want to have to go after me? I'm so small, you're barely going to have any meat and bones. Go after the human being, he has a lot of muscle and fat. Okay. Goes and tries to eat a human being, and he falls into a trap that the man had put there. The fox comes to visit the wolf, and the wolf starts yelling at him, you liar, you tricked me. He says, no. He says, you don't understand. You are suffering as a result of your parents' sins. What do you mean? So the fox explained to him like this. It's not what you did wrong, it's what your parents did wrong. Your parents did avonot, they ate human beings or whatever, and as a result of that, the children suffer their sins. So the wolf says, is that fair? The answer is yes, it is fair. Because you knew that your children would suffer as a result of your deeds and you didn't care. Since you didn't care, you suffer too. You see what I mean? Your parents didn't care even though they knew your children will suffer. Then, in the same way, since you were willing to do it too, even though you knew your children will suffer, then you get the same thing. So if Parasha is willing to do something even though he knows that his children will suffer, and he does the exact same thing that his parents did, he will also suffer. So therefore Hashem only punishes the children if they continue and do the exact same thing that the parents did. They have no remorse. They don't care what happens to their own children. They have to share in the parents' sins as well, just like they didn't care. That is the reason why it can happen that sin will go over, but only for a few generations. Yes. Poked avon avod al banim, but only for a few generations. Midat tova can last for 1,000 generations, because that is the way Hashem is. Goodness can last many, many years. Punishment is only intended as a lesson. It's not intended as a permanent thing. So therefore it only lasts a little bit. Whereas in Midat Tova, Merubah is greater because it lasts for many generations. And the best example of this is the story with Rothschild, who was blessed by a rabbi for doing a very beautiful deed. And until today, his children and grandchildren, even though they're not as religious, are still very wealthy. The blessing, the Midat Tova, has lasted for many, many generations to come. A true beracha, a true blessing that is from Hashemayim, that is how you can tell it's a beracha. It lasts. If a person has a lot of money, maybe it's not a beracha, it's his mazal. He has good mazal, or inheritance. When something lasts for a long time, for several generations, that is the greatest indication that we're dealing with a beracha.